on a Sunday afternoon, and it's Nyo Weekly. Lower in the boom.
Make some noise for your host, Nico.
Lower in the boom.
Make some noise for the OG.
Lower in the boom.
950 Cab.
Lower in the boom.
And TJ Jones.
Lower in the boom. Step into the room on a Sunday afternoon, and it's Nyo Weekly. Lower in the boom. Step into the room on a Sunday afternoon, and it's Nyo Weekly. Lower in the boom.
What up? What up? Welcome back. NYO Weekly. Hope everyone is doing well. This is your boy Suave. Hey, it's been a very interesting couple of weeks, man, just in sports, college and pro. A lot of people getting hired. Well, nobody got hired yet, but a lot of people getting fired. We've talked about it on the show. You got Penn State looking for a new head coach, possibly. You got, Florida, LSU, possibly even Ole Miss. If their head coach decides to stay or leave, that's going to be a story for the next upcoming weeks. But yeah, man, it's been interesting in sports. My Bears, 7-3. Today we got the Pittsburgh Steelers. So, that's going to be a tricky one. But I think we can pull it out. Kev, OG, and them, they're coming shortly. But yeah, man, it's you're getting down to the cream of the crop, in college and in pro, because now teams are battling for playoff position, and even in the college realm, they're battling for the 12-team playoff. Every game counts. I think Georgia Tech is out of it now after you done lost to Pittsburgh yesterday at the crib. It was a good game, though, but, Georgia Tech had to play a lot of catching up, and, time ran out. Oregon with a big win yesterday over USC. Notre Dame, they just look like a whole nother different team compared to how they looked the first 2 weeks, beating Syracuse 70-7. It's at this point, I think their season is pretty much, I think they're done after yesterday. Let's check it out. Let's see, do they have any more games? Because I think they're done. Let's see. Do they have any more games? Does Notre Dame have any more? Oh, they got one more. They got Stanford, but that's. Unless Stanford just on upset watch, like they did to Cal yesterday. Did they beat Cal? So let's see. Yes, Stanford beat Cal 31-10. So we're gonna see. This is the year of teams being spoilers. So we're gonna see, man. We're gonna see for sure. But Penn State, they had a very promising season, and the bottom fell out for them. But yeah, I would even say the Vanderbilt versus Tennessee next week. Tennessee could play spoiler because Vanderbilt is ranked currently 14, and then Tennessee is ranked 20th, but I'm sure they'll both be in them mid to late teens by the start of the game next week as far as ranking. And it's going to be interesting, man. It's going to be very interesting to see how that looks. And then, the game, Ohio State versus Michigan. That's going, I think from what they were saying, if Michigan wins, they're in. That's going to be an interesting one. So we're gonna see. 950. How you doing, man?
Top of the morning, my brother. Top of the morning, everyone who's checking us out. It's Sunday. If you're listening to us, so you can see us, and you're already blessed. So
Yes,
all
sir.
good.
100%.
Mm-hmm.
No, man, I was just talking about Notre Dame. Look like a whole nother team
Oh man,
compared to the first 2 weeks.
I felt bad for my man Fran
Yeah.
yesterday. I haven't watched a football game in a long time. I couldn't watch the whole game actually, but did I root for the team or even Jet games? But I was like, yo, just throw the towel. Like just
Yeah.
you watch youth football and they run the clock.
And
I was
one
really
team is
hoping they
just
did that
better than the
yesterday.
other.
Like, huh?
It's like, and one team is just better than the other. It's like, bruh.
I feel for Fran. But Notre Dame like a machine. I think they did that to prove a point. Obviously they've lost 2 games. They're trying to move into the rankings, but whatever you want to say about them, right now that offense is like a well-oiled machine. I think they came to prove a point, and they did that. I know Miami beat them first game of the year, and really it should be head-to-head, but nothing in college football is normal. So if you're asking me the Sunday before Thanksgiving, is Notre Dame a better team than Miami? I'm gonna tell you yes.
Yeah, I mean, and it's looking that way. And I even, everybody, I don't know why the game of the week was Tennessee and Florida, but I was watching that Georgia Tech Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh jumped out early, 28-0. Missed a couple field goals. G Tech went into the half down 14. Then they're driving. Quarterback throws a pick six, 100 yards. And so it was, they just, when you got to play catch up, it's tough, because the clock is against you.
So another school I root for is Pitt. Got recruited by them many years ago. And the thing about what Pat Narduzzi said last week about he got a lot of heat for saying that he didn't really care about the Notre Dame game because it wasn't a conference game. And it took some heat about it. I think he was tongue-in-cheek what he said. But then to come out there last night on the road with a Georgia Tech team who really had everything to play for. We win that game, you pretty much clinch a spot. Matter of fact, they win that game, they clinch a spot in the ACC championship game. They win that game, they set up a winner-take-all scenario against Georgia next week.
Mm-hmm.
They came out completely flat and maybe showed where maybe they're not ready for the moment. Maybe everything at home at that, right? So they're not ready for the moment. And they play Georgia next week. No matter what happens in that game, I mean, yeah, if they win the game, maybe they move up the channel. But I think last night's game was going to stick. And I think it's pretty much a wrap for playoff consideration for the Yellow Jackets. As for with Pitt, they need some help. But the ACC has been a motley crew of football. So we'll see what happens with Virginia, and we'll see what happens with who's the other team that's in running. It's Virginia and damn, I can't think of the other team. I know Louisville, Virginia's SMU. SMU. So we'll see how that plays out next week. We'll see how it plays out. But it looks like Miami is kind of boxed out to get into the championship game in that conference, and so it's going to really come down to what happens if with everybody else. Can Miami be an at-large team in the playoffs?
Yeah, and I even looking at the the battle for the tenant rights in Tennessee. Tennessee could be a spoiler next week.
Yeah.
Vanderbilt.
Yeah.
I'm sure they'll be ranked in that top. That top 10.
They're going to need some help because remember, the ACC champ is guaranteed, and the Group of 5 champ is guaranteed. Tulane went up to Philly yesterday and got some cheesesteaks and beat Temple. So right now they're at that number 12 spot. I think if Vandy's going to get in, Vandy's got to root hard for Oklahoma. I think they play Arkansas next week. I'm not sure, but Oklahoma.
Yeah.
Who looked really shaky. Who they play next week,
Listed.
who they looked really shaky yesterday against Missouri. I mean, they did enough to win, but really looked shaky. I think Vandy's got to beat Tennessee, handle their business, and I think they need Oklahoma to lose. Because they're not going to
LSU.
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah. At Oklahoma, right? At Norman, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so Oklahoma should win that game, but that's what Vandy needs. Vandy's going to be that team that's going to get boxed out. They might even be a top 12 team this week, but because of the ACC champ is guaranteed and the Group of 5 champ is guaranteed, it's going to be 11 and 12. It doesn't really matter if you're 11 or 12 this week. You got to at least be 10 to guarantee a spot.
So let me ask you this.
Mm-hmm.
A hypothetical world.
Mm-hmm.
Say they beat Tennessee 42-17.
Mm-hmm.
Could they possibly sneak in that way? Could that be the only thing that gets you in style points?
Possibly, but you got to ask yourself who they're jumping. Are they jumping Oklahoma? Are they jumping who else is at large right now? I don't have if you could look at the top 12 real quick, Swab. But the question would be who they jumping if everybody wins in front of them. And look at the games next week. Okay, let's take Alabama, right? It's a rivalry game. There's no reason why Alabama shouldn't beat Auburn, but it's a rivalry game. So let's say Bama,
real quick.
Yeah.
Is anybody guaranteed in the SEC championship right now?
I don't think so. I think A&M has to win. I think it's A&M and Bama is to win out. But they got to win out, and they got to win next week.
So Texas could be spoiler.
Texas can be a spoiler, but I don't think even if A&M loses, let's say A&M lost next week, they're number 3.
But
they're not dropping.
Wouldn't that be a bad loss?
It would be, but I don't see them dropping. They might not play. Let's say they don't play in the SEC championship. Let's say it's Georgia, right?
Yeah.
I don't see them dropping 8 slots unless they would have to get completely mollywopped for the committee to say, wow, this team has put this type of resume out. Remember, they beat Notre Dame early in the year too, and they're undefeated. To all of a sudden drop out of the playoffs, it would have to be monumental.
I would say not drop out, but
because you had asked about how Vandy can get in, and I was saying,
right.
And I was saying, well, who are you going to move out? The only team I think that can possibly move out because they're low in the polls or they're near that 10 line is Alabama and Oklahoma. So if Alabama, let's say again a rivalry game, anything is possible. I'm even hearing their coach's name, killing the boys being mentioned in Penn State. Let's say they just go out of they got the super agent Jimmy Sexton working for them, so it's all maneuvers. But let's say he just doesn't like that heat that he gets in Alabama and wants to go north. But let's just say that all that noise has a problem and they lose, right? They probably fall out. Vandy could take that. Oklahoma, I don't see that being LSU winning that game. A lot of transition there. Who knows? LSU, by the time they play on Saturday, might even have their new head coach named, which I think they will. Let's say they lose. Or if Ole Miss, now here's the one that I think that can happen. We know what's going on in Ole Miss, right? All the drama. Lane has got this team dangling by the pubic hairs and telling them like, hey, you know what, I'll make my decision after the Egg Bowl Friday and all this chatter. Let's say it's so much distraction there that Mississippi State pulls up an upset. Or let's say Ole Miss wins by a field goal. Does the committee, remember 2 years ago, the committee took Florida State out because they didn't have their starting quarterback. Could the committee look at an Ole Miss team and say, you know what? They don't have their head coach. Do we use that same poison pill to remove them? And if that were to happen, they probably would stay in the SEC and move up Vandy if Vandy wins next week. So it's a lot of drama that's happening in college football this last week. A lot of it's not even on the field. But again, you have to ask yourself, would that be the same team without Lane Kiffin? And I think that's what hurts the sport.
I believe it. I believe they're a different team without him.
Right. That's what hurts the sport because what you got a team. I mean, in my lifetime, and I ain't no baby, this is the best Ole Miss team I've seen from a chance to win a national championship.
Okay.
I mean, they legitimately have a chance to win a national championship. And their head coach is probably going to resign Friday night. So if that happens, he's not coaching the playoffs because he's got to get ready for the National Signing Day and the transfer portal next month. So you're not getting paid. And what they're saying, LSU's paying him $90 million. You're not paying somebody $90 million to go coach for your rival in the playoffs. So he's out of there. So that's not the same team. Not to mention, if your head coach leaves, you got a 30-day automatic window to transfer. So how many of those kids from Ole Miss are going to go to LSU? So the whole thing is
for sure going to LSU.
Well, it's not for sure, but that's what the rumblings are coming out. That's what's starting to be said. He's come out and said he will make an announcement after the Egg Bowl. The Egg Bowl Friday, Mississippi State versus Ole Miss Friday after Thanksgiving. But he's pretty much, and again, listen, I guess you can't hate the player, hate the game, but it's just it sours the sport when you got a team that is that good that is again going to get blown up in a matter of days, and it hurts all three programs because they've laid their sword on the ground for Lane. So if Lane doesn't go, let's say he turns down Florida and obviously leaves for LSU, that hurts Florida. Who's your second choice? Again, that's going to hurt your recruiting because your recruits are like, is he coming to Florida? So that's going to completely derail that. Let's say he leaves and goes to Florida, LSU. What do? What does Ole Miss do? Ole Miss doesn't have the luxury of being a Florida LSU because Ole Miss doesn't have that type of gravitas. It's all Lane. Yeah. Lane built that. That's why, in a way, I don't know why he would want to leave. I understand that listen, money matters, but you've built it. They never gonna fire you. And they said each of the schools are willing to give $25 million in NIL. So you get the money's right there. And if you can get this team this year to 10 wins with a backup quarterback, why can't you? But I don't know. So we'll see what happens. But I think he's out. I think he's going to LSU.
Yeah, I don't understand. No, that's just me. I don't understand why you would want to leave either. Because I think it's like going to LSU would be like going to the Lakers. You just add into the history.
Just another guy. Right.
Yeah. Right. You're just another coach that came in and did what we needed you to do.
You're never going to top Saban.
No.
So you're just another guy, right? While at Ole Miss, you're building something in the same conference.
Being at Ole Miss is like being in OKC.
Right.
You're the greatest thing that they've ever had. And especially now that OKC's winning. If you win one in Ole Miss, man, you probably own the state. Let's just call it what it is.
Remember, it's the same guy that got fired on the tarmac at USC. The same guy that in Tennessee they wanted to name a chemical dump facility plant after him. The same guy that got
amazing how many jobs he's had.
Though. He's had because his last name, he lived off his daddy for a long time off, the great Monty Kiffin. And he's done a really good job at his last two stops, which was Florida Atlantic and now Ole Miss. Mm-hmm. Before that, to me, I think he was living off his name. There was no reason the Raiders should have hired him at 33 years old to be their head coach. That was a colossal flop. Then he goes to Tennessee, and I think he goes 6-5 or 6-7-5, and he leaves after 1 year to go to USC. And that was a complete train wreck. They fired him on the airplane. Who gets fired on the airplane? And, obviously he went to the Nick Saban school of getting yourself back together, reincarnated. and got himself right, and even got released from Nick because he took the job at FAU before the championship game. So, he's been on the move, but like I said, over the last several years, he's become a really good coach. And I just think that obviously, in my opinion, I think it's overhyped, because he's a good coach, but you still need the horses. And going in, even Florida is not LSU, right?
No.
Even Florida is.
Florida is like. Who could you compare Florida to?
But an NBA, we're using NBA terms. I guess
Miami Heat.
You batting 1,000. Yeah, they win once in a while, right? But
when they win, it's always historical.
Right.
They don't do it often.
Right, and that's Florida. But LSU is probably one of the titans of the sport. So maybe he wants that. Maybe he feels like, I want everything I want when I want it. And LSU can give it to him, but what I'm hearing, Ole Miss has dedicated themselves to whatever he needs. So each school is willing to give $25 million. So he's not losing from NIL. Just can you get a kid quicker to Baton Rouge than to Oxford, Mississippi? Or if you just want a better lifestyle, like, hey, maybe you say, hey, Baton Rouge, but living in Florida is different because Gainesville is near Jacksonville, and maybe. But if it's not a quality of life thing, if it's just about football and money, you might as well stay. But remember the agent Jimmy Sexton. He handles all these big coaches, Kalen DeBoer, Lane Kiffin, all these major names. He's the agent. So in my opinion, he's kind of the puppet master. Because Penn State's still open. We know about the SEC schools. Nobody's talking about UCLA. Yep. Matter of fact, I'm hearing the guy from James Madison, McChesley. He might be being looked at Penn State. But then I heard again, a wild name came out.
What's his name? Signetti?
Signetti, yeah. But
he came from James Houston, right?
He came from James Madison, yeah, right. And then obviously he took a lot of his players and he's built Indiana to a powerhouse. And they just re-upped him because they were talking about him to Penn State. Yeah. Same thing with the coach at A&M. They re-upped him. So guys are getting more money.
Washington State yesterday.
Yeah. James Madison to keep their slim hopes alive. Same thing with the coach at Tulane. He had an opportunity to meet with, I think, Florida, but they canceled the meeting. Now, I thought I had mentioned in our C Club room that might have been a sign that maybe Lane was going to Florida. But what I heard yesterday was that he just didn't like the merry-go-round of having to be, the second bride. Like, I'm not sitting here waiting until this guy, you decide what you want to do with this guy for me to sit in the background. So he said, nah, I'm going to sit back. I'm going to keep my job at Tulane, which is not a bad job. I went out, I'm in the playoffs, and there'll be new opportunities next year. So, and as a group of five, Tulane is a solid group of five because they have the budget and they have money. And Tulane is a big time medical institution, medical university. So it's a lot of money there. So he'll wait. So I think that's he pissed off at that because he felt like he should have been the main guy. But I will mention a name that nobody's talking, and he's probably not even in this coaching window, that I think maybe next year is going to be a guy sorely coveted. It's Willie Simmons from FIU, former coach at FAMU.
Really?
They just became bowl eligible yesterday. I reached out to him on Instagram. He responded back from a standpoint of like, I think he's an up-and-coming star in the coaching fraternity. And I think that's a guy that in the next 2-3 years could be one of these Power 4 institutions. Just doing a great job at FIU. FIU, again, like I said, it's they haven't been in a bowl game in 6 years. Pretty much as a program, the only thing beautiful about it is the palm trees and probably the co-eds. But the reality that he's bringing quality football players to that part of Florida, which is right in South Florida, and really getting recruits to buy into what he's doing. And it did it in 1 year. Says a lot for Willie Simmons. So I'm excited to see what FIU does long term. I like to see him stay there a little bit because I like to see coaches build. But also, like I said again, he's going to be a coveted name probably in the next cycle.
Yeah, no, I get that. I would like to see it too. Another HBCU coach getting that shot.
Another guy, I don't think he would. I don't know if he might have to take the route Willie took, because remember, Willie went from FAMU and coached the running backs at Duke for a year, then got the job, which I hate that he had to take that detour route, but it is what it is. But I'd like to see TC Taylor. I mean, I know he's at Jackson State. Salute to Jackson State. I don't know if you saw that game. It was a wild game. That might have been one of the best games of the day, man. I came home after drinking a lot of bourbon yesterday. Was able to come home and watch a little bit of that game.
Tell me about that when we get off. But
I can tell you here, even it's all love. It's all love. But I'll say that to the end. But obviously they I don't know if you saw they were getting ready to take a knee and they fumbled the ball.
Oh my man!
And they left Alcorn with like about 40 seconds, and they pulled it out. But I think TC Taylor to me is a name, a young enough guy.
Yeah.
I think TC's in his 40s, a young enough guy where if he wanted to explore greater horizons as a coach, I think it's there for him. I think he's done a great job, coming out of Dion's shadow. Mm-hmm. And that program, again, 2 out of 3 SWAC East championships, since Dion has left. I think TC is building his own legacy there. I know that's his dream job and that's his alma mater. So, and Jackson State for an HBCU is Scott. He can always use more money as an HBCU, but they're pretty solidified. But I would be interested to know, would he have interest in going after a bigger job? Because I think he can downright coach and motivate, and he can recruit players. So, they're bringing in great talent in Jackson, Mississippi, and we know they don't have a huge NIL budget, but they're bringing in quality players. And salute to the J-State Tigers, and also to South Carolina State, who beat Deshaun Jackson's Delaware State team yesterday. Great season by D-Jack. Just came up a little short, but
Atlanta.
Yeah, back to Atlanta, right?
South Carolina fans.
Salute to Chennisberry, and that Bulldogs group. I wanted to
show Kobe going back to the A.
Yeah, one of my former players, one of my former youth players used to play there, and I know he follows that team. That's a very tight knit group of alumni, and they built something there. And Chennisberry has taken over and has done a nice job back-to-back MEAC championships.
Hey, he keep winning. He may get a call too.
That's what I'm saying. Again, I think I know we follow that HBCU world, and it's just some good football. I mean, Trey Oliver at North Carolina Central. It's some good coaches on that realm, and it not that I want to see those coaches leave, because I really like I like to see quality coaches at that level. Don't get me wrong.
But you just know,
right?
Start winning, other people are gonna call.
Right, but would like to see those guys get opportunities if they choose to want those opportunities, because again, it's some great coaching in that level of football, and I think it gets overlooked, and it's unfortunate. But I challenge people to watch a little bit more HBCU football. And before we move on, I don't know if you heard the rumor that Marshall Faulk might be going to Southern.
I've heard it for about a week now.
Right. They said he interviewed. I don't know if they offered him the job. It depends on who you speak to. He's from New Orleans, yeah. It depends on who you speak to. Some of the prominent people who cover the space are not excited about the hire or the possible hire of Marshall Faulk. I disagree. I think Marshall Faulk is a very intellectual think he's a solid coach. I think one of the guys, and I'm not going to mention his name, but he brought up some off the field stuff that happened with Falk, and I thought that was kind of a low blow.
From how long ago? 20 years ago? Or recent?
No, it was a little soon. It was from his NFL Network days, but nevertheless, I just think that was a low blow to try to use that as a disqualifier. Listen, I understand people make mistakes and things happen, but I don't agree with that. If you don't like the guy because he's not the right coach, so be it. But then again, we have to be realistic. We've seen what Deion did at Jackson State. We saw what Eddie George did at Tennessee State. We're watching what Deshaun Jackson is doing at Delaware State. And even though Michael Vick had a rough season, they still sold out Norfolk State home games. So to think that, Southern, who's gone some lean times over the last couple of years, they're not watching that. And to think that football is not a business as well, it's unrealistic. So it's like, oh, well, he's not a coach, it's about coaching. Yeah, but people pay the bills. Seats pay the bills. Exposure pays the bills. Being on ESPN and having, First Take come to your campus pays the bills. And that's just a reality that this is entertainment still. And you got to find a balance, and I think Marshall will provide that.
Yeah. It'll be interesting to see, man.
Mm-hmm.
He's one of those guys that, really after he stopped playing, he went into TV and, he been real low key.
Right.
I'm sure, you probably would know more than I do, but that ain't, you just don't hear about him doing much until he took the job at Colorado.
Right.
And it's like, dang.
Speaking of Colorado.
Yeah. Minister just asked about him.
What do you think about because I watch a lot of the pro Colorado shows, right? And it almost reminds me of Fox News, right? They want to blame everybody else. They'll say like the players or they'll talk about Pat Sherman, they'll talk about the position coaches, but they never want to come at Deion. And I understand, listen, if your bread is buttered by a certain guy with the knife and spread,
yeah,
I don't have to like it, but I understand. Like Chris Rock said, I didn't think he didn't do it about OJ, but I understand. I understand that. But you can't come on these shows and talk about we need change, and not talk about the guy who runs the show. That's just being disingenuous. It's not being real. And if you can't spit it real talk, then you shouldn't talk about it at all. Just my opinion. And it seems like everybody's talking about everybody else but Deion. Deion's the head coach.
I agree. But like you say, he's buttering somebody's bread and they're not trying to get left out the line.
I like this job, these good benefits.
Exactly.
My Aflac is paid on time. I get it.
All that.
But again, then you should abstain from having the conversation completely because you lose credibility. And again, there's some names, and I'm not going to mention them because some of the guys, and they know who they are, but some of them might speak to through virtual channels. And it's just like it's embarrassing because, like, listen, you can say that, hey, you know what, it's just a rough season and, changes will need to be made and leave it broad. But once you start pinpointing people, well, who you think put the people in the game? Like I was watching one yesterday, and they talked about the walk-on running back that fumbled the ball, right? Oh, that changed the game. Well, Deion put him in the game. He mentioned that in the press conference. So, you're gonna blame the kid, but the coach gets no blame.
I agree. But like you say, though, it could be just one of them things too. It's too many yes men.
It's again, it's a situation, Suave, where I mean, like I said again, there's nobody. I'm not a prime sexual, but I want Deion to win, and I root for them. But the reality is that when you're doing a bad job, you're doing a bad job. And again, if you're the head coach and it's your job to put these guys in place, and you're hiring these guys, and they're not doing the job, well, then you have to be looked at too because you hired them. You know,
True.
I mean, you put them in place. You can't say, well, it's the assistant coach's fault, the OC's fault, DC's fault. You hired them.
Yeah. Facts.
So you have to take some of that blame, and to deflect that blame and say it's everybody but me is wrong. And I'm not saying he's doing that. I'm just saying that the media that covers him out there.
Yeah.
Right. Nobody wants to say that. But again, if that's the case, then you can't call yourself media.
Yeah. No,
Can't.
I agree. And I think just some of the people that we talk to on a daily basis, they honest. And you have to be like, come on, let's just call it what it is. He got a lot of, you got a lot of like NFL talent, but do they make for great coaches? Every player can't be a coach.
No.
We see it a lot with, the NBA and some of these other sports. That's why some of them just stay maybe in high school, because that's the best you can do, bro. That's the best you can do. It ain't, you can't go to them upper echelon jobs because somebody's gonna be like, "Hey, you don't know what you're doing, do you?"
Right.
And then you're gonna feel away.
Yeah.
And then you're trying to fight. So it's like, some. Now I'm not saying that is what's happening at Colorado because I don't know none of them guys, but it's interesting what happens in a year. Because this time last year, y'all was riding high till you played BYU in that bowl game. But other than that, you were winning. You
haven't been right since that bowl game.
Yeah,
and I think he should have left last year. And again, like I said, I salute the man. He is a inspiration. And as a black man, I root for him. I'm just gonna keep it a buck. Just as a human being, Deion's been through a lot personally. Man got 8 toes, dealing with cancer, and he's still coaching. I respect it all. But at the flip side, at the end of the day, nobody cares. It's production, and and nobody knows that better than him.
Yeah.
But when, like I said again, when I hear people do these shows, and they're calling themselves media or they're trying to critique, but they're afraid to critique. It reminds me of, a certain news outlet that, we talk about everybody else, but when it comes to that one individual, well,
Yeah.
And that's what it sounds like. And I think, it is what it is. But I'm interested to see what happens there because they're not going to fire Deion, but I think it's going to have to clean house, and he's probably going to have to let some of his, like the linebacker coach who's been with him since youth football, and Kevin Mathis who's been with him since youth football, and a lot of these guys that have rolled with him, Warren Sapp. He might have to make some tough decisions, and I think again they got a new AD coming in there, and I think again they need to look at bringing in some coaches that necessarily are not yes men. And that's hard because most head coaches bring in guys they're comfortable with. Nobody wants to work for a guy that might be after their job, right? But sometimes you need that in order to keep it together. You need somebody to tell you no, or somebody to look at it from an objective pair of eyes and tell you, nah, man, we got to flip this a little bit. And that's not the case currently. So hopefully they get together. I mean, when you look at the model they built, I think it's come back to bite them because they're all transfer portal, and they haven't really built any homegrown talent that's coming in as freshmen and grown with the program. Everybody they're bringing in is kind of mercenary style. So we'll see how that plays out, but we'll be watching.
Yeah. No, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
So, last thing on college, and then we'll move on to the pros.
Mm-hmm.
Based off, just this is just your prediction.
Mm-hmm.
Are You can have a spoiler, some upsets, whatever. Who are going to be your, what is it, 12? Yeah, 12 teams in this college football playoff.
Well, off the top of my head, there are 3 locks. Your boys in Columbus, A&M. I mean, your boys in Columbus, Indiana, A&M, right? That 3. Texas Tech, I think, is a lock. They're going to win the Big 12, 4. Alabama, Oregon, 6. Take the group of 5. That's going to be Tulane. That's 7. Notre Dame, 8. Now those last 4 get interesting because I don't know if Miami's a lock because they're not going to the big.
They got to have a lot to happen.
Right. So keep them on the side. Keep Utah, BYU on the side. I think Bama's a lock. Maybe one of those 2 Big 12 teams get in. Put it this way, because I don't have it. I'm trying to do this off memory. Big 10,
All right.
Big 10, Ohio State,
I'll read
Indiana.
you.
Go ahead. Yes.
I can tell you the top 15. The good thing is it's got the college football and the AP right next to each other. So
just give me the college football. Give me the playoff committee ones.
1 to 4, Ohio State, Indiana, A&M, Georgia.
Those are locks.
Okay. The next, I would say I'll give you the next 4. Tech, Ole Miss, Oregon, Oklahoma.
Okay. Tech's a lock.
Okay.
Oklahoma and Oregon have to win next week.
Who?
So they're high, but they're not locks.
Who you say got to win next week?
Oklahoma and Oregon. They got to win out. Yeah.
Okay. And then the next 4, Notre Dame.
Lock. Bama's got to win. Got to beat Auburn.
BYU.
You got to win out and you need some help.
In Utah.
Got to win out and need some help because I don't know. They're not both getting in because remember those last 2 spots are going to go to the group of 5.
Yeah.
And you didn't mention the ACC champion. So
I mean, the highest ranked ACC champion the highest ranked team out of the ACC
is Miami. But they're not going. They got 2 conference losses. So if everybody wins next week, they're not going to the conference championship. So Miami will have to get an at large.
So it's only 3. It's Miami, Tech, and Virginia.
Right.
So,
but Georgia Tech lost last night, so they're out.
Yeah, exactly.
It's either Virginia or SMU because SMU has only got 1 conference loss.
They're not even on the list.
Exactly. So how can you move the champion of the conference? You can't put Miami ahead of the champion of the conference. So that's why they're not a lock. And if they are a lock, that means those 2 Big 12 teams you mentioned, BYU and Utah, something's got to give. Yeah. And we haven't talked about Tulane, which if Tulane wins out, they're the group of 5 champion. They're going to be the 12th seed.
So with that, if they're a group of 5, do they get a home game or what?
No, they'll be the 12th seed. They'll have to play the 5 seed. They'll either play that 5th seed is going to be Georgia or Texas Tech, probably be Texas Tech, and they'll get beat the hell out by Texas Tech. But still, when you think about Tulane, they do have an NFL quarterback in Retzlaff, the kid that couldn't keep in his pants at BYU, and you never know when you have a quarterback with NFL pedigree, can he get hot? If I'm Tulane, I damn sure better play Texas Tech than Georgia. I don't want no parts of Georgia. None.
Yeah.
None.
So my question is though, based on next week, who would A&M play in Atlanta if they win? If A&M wins, they would play. If Bama wins, I think Bama is in the championship game because Bama's only got 1 conference loss, and Bama's beating Georgia, so they got the head-to-head. Okay. So I think it would be Bama and A&M. But if Bama loses, man, he might be running to Penn State if Bama lose next week because he would be out of the SEC championship and maybe out of the playoffs. What if
He would, yeah, because they got 2 losses. If they lost next week, they would be out on both championship of the SEC and the playoffs. That'd be 3 losses. Because remember, the Florida State loss beginning of the season was non-conference.
And who else did they lose to?
They lost to Oklahoma.
Oh, that's right. Okay. Right. Okay. Like 2 weeks ago.
Right. So they need to win out. They need to beat Auburn, which is, as we know, that's a game that's ultimate rivalry game. Anything is possible. I don't see them losing to Auburn, just for the record, but you never know.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't. Now this is just me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't see that A&M game being a cakewalk either.
Oh, A&M Texas.
Yeah, I mean, think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Sarkisian could play spoiler,
right?
But I would say maybe the second biggest rivalry.
It could It could be an issue. It'll interrupt. I don't know who has a tiebreaker if it's 3 teams with 1 loss, but they're still a lock for the playoffs. Even if they lost to Texas, they're locked up. At the high level they are right now, they're what, 3? They wouldn't drop more than to 6, 7. They would still be that first 3, Ohio State, Indiana, A&M, they're locks. No matter what happens the rest of the way out. And Georgia to me is a lock too, pretty much. Even with the 1 loss, Georgia's a lock.
You think it would be better to have that break, or go from conference championship to that first round game? Who did it? Like Penn State last year.
Right.
You didn't have a long layoff.
Right.
You lost, then you turned around and played SMU.
Right.
And then you should have beat Notre Dame, but we got to talk about that again.
I think you look at it from a standpoint of, if you're in the SEC, right? Let's take Georgia, right?
Yeah.
Georgia is done with their conference play. They play Georgia Tech next week. It's a non-conference game. So Georgia, with that 1 loss, if we think Bama will beat Auburn, and we think, let's say A&M takes care of business, right? Georgia's not going to the SEC championship, but Georgia's the top 4 lock in the playoffs, which means they're going to have the bye week for the SEC championship, and they're going to probably get the bye week in the first round of playoffs. That's 2 weeks. Is that too much for a college team? Now, again, if you got nicks and injuries and you're trying to heal up for the playoff run, is great. I think with what you're saying works only if you if you play in your conference championship, like how for instance, how like Clemson got in last year, right? They won their ACC conference, and then they played Texas the following week. They were on a high. They lost that game in Texas, but they were on a emotional high. They played themselves in. If you're a SEC team, let's say you're Bama, Texas A&M, you might appreciate that week off, because now, after a tough season, gives you a chance to recoup and then get ready for the playoff run. But a team like Texas Tech, who's going to have to play their Big 12 championship, and then probably will have to play the first round game, probably against Tulane, that 12-5 matchup. Now you're asking yourselves, is that too much? Can that be a hurtsome situation when you're playing, you have no break? But it's the NFL model. It's very similar to, like, hey, we make the wild card and we play the following week. So I guess teams have to get used to it. I don't really think it's a major issue unless you're dealing with a lot of injury. But I just think that if I'm a coach, I'd probably like to keep playing. If I'm hot and I'm rolling, I want to stay in the same routine. Even though somebody might say, I want to have the week off to recoup and re-strategize, I take the different approach. If we got it going, I want to stay in rotation. And if I'm getting with homegirl every couple of days, don't stop that rotation. I'll see you in a couple of days. Let's keep it moving. I don't want no breaks. So we'll see how it plays out. But I think it's going to be interesting football. But the key is, like we mentioned earlier, what happens with Ole Miss? Does the committee look at Ole Miss and say, hey, you should be a playoff team, but you lose your head coach, you're not the same team. Do you get punished for that? They did it with Florida State 2 years ago with their quarterback. Will they have enough balls to do it with the coach? Huh?
That's the 14.
That was the 14, but it was still the same committee. I mean, they made some moves, but it was still the same committee meeting and picking at that time the 4 best teams to play in the playoff. Now it's 12. But again, they've always had that poison pill. If you lose a player or a coach, does that affect the overall fitness of your football team? I think the fitness of Ole Miss would be affected without Lane Kiffin.
I think call me crazy, but I think barring a loss to Mississippi State, you got to put them in. That's just me. I think you, without a doubt, I think you have to. You got to put them in.
It would be interesting because, again, that 30-day window, will guys be transferring out? I'm just saying, I think college football has done itself a huge injustice because they could have just pushed all this back, but they got these early timelines because everybody wants to get their high school kids in for spring practice. Hey, well, leave high school early, graduate in December, and come on campus in January, and it's killing the sport. Because that is going to happen, and it's going to be a black eye where you have a team, 10 wins, a SEC will qualify for the playoffs, but because their head coach is leaving, whether they're in or not, it's going to be chaotic.
I think, like I say, unless you lose to Mississippi State, which I think for the committee, that's what they hope for. I think you have to put them in.
Yeah,
because the resume would just be too good.
I think so too. I just think that obviously, if put it this way, if you put them in and they're the 5 seed, if I'm Tulane, that's who I want to play.
Yeah.
With all the chaos, that's who I want. I want Ole Miss without Lane Kiffin.
But that could also bite you because then it's like, well, we're gonna prove. I mean, maybe not the world because you may probably win that first game, but then them bowl games, the competition is going to be, equivalent, if not better.
And what's going to happen also, Swab, is you're going to have players who are not going to play in the playoffs with Ole Miss because they're going to transfer. And if that happens, it's like the NFL. Imagine the NFL having free agency during the playoffs.
Yeah.
So why, if college football wants a pro model, why are they still trying to have a college model? Yeah. You can't do both. You've already said you want to have an NFL model. So you need to move your free agency, which is the transfer portal, to after the season. It just makes no sense. So now if I'm Ole Miss, I'm trying to hire a head coach. I'm trying to keep players motivated while I'm in the playoffs, mind you.
Yeah.
And on top of that, I got to now get ready to compete against a team to try to win games without the guy who's been leading the system that all these players rally around.
Like I say, I think the committee, if I'm on the committee, you almost hope that they just lose to Mississippi State.
You're praying for your Mississippi State fans.
Because if they do, it's like, whoo.
Yeah, we ain't got to deal with it. We ain't got to deal with it. Right.
Good.
Yeah.
But I just think if they win out, which more than likely they will, you have to put them in. And just, maybe they, because they would play Tulane at home.
Depending on where they're the seeding at. I don't know where they were seeded. I think they were 6 last week. So they would play the 11th seed, whoever that is.
Okay.
But they would be home. It'd be a home game.
So, I would, like I say, you just, it would have to be something like, whole team gets sick or some shit. I don't know. To really like keep them out. I just think it would be such a bad look. Like that Florida State thing, you could kind of do that because it was 4 teams, but you can't tell me that it's 12 teams better than Ole Miss.
True.
Maybe 5, but not 12.
Right.
So I think if I'm on a committee, you rooting for
Yeah, you
the
become it.
Bulldogs.
You got your maroon on. But
Yeah,
let's remember this: the last time Lane danced, flirted with Auburn, about was that 3 years ago? They lost the Egg Bowl. So there is precedence that distraction can happen. So we'll see how it plays out. Again, we're talking about 18 to 22-year-olds.
Yeah.
And while you was you can probably remember a little bit more better than I can, 18 and 22. I know when I was 18 and 22, I was a mess. So to have somebody like, a coach or a father figure, whatever Lane represents to these young men, and to have that teetered off and like the guys leaving.
The frat brother, that's what he represents.
Right. Yeah, the older frat boy, Lane Kiffin. All of a sudden you're leaving us, and you know how kids take that.
True.
It should be interesting. It's making for a lot more drama. And he said he's gonna have his LeBron decision at the end of the game. So he's gonna have probably the hats on the table. I'm taking my talents.
But you know what? I would just make the decision just in that post on field, just getting people either the letdown or the encouragement. Just give it to him right there. Just the world to see.
He loves the drama too, though, Suave. He didn't have to. He could have handled this a different way.
True.
He loves the drama, so we'll see how it plays out. But he's enjoying this.
A little too much.
A little bit too much.
Somebody that ain't won nothing.
Yeah. Exactly. Never won nothing. Exactly.
But I mean, maybe he's the the new shiny new toy that knows how to build a program. Now, Ole Miss is a lot different than Florida. Like I say, they're the Miami, like the Miami Heat of college football. They have a way of doing things.
Mm-hmm.
It's very funny that I say that because you think about Florida, Miami, Pat Riley, Steve Spurrier, Urban Meyer. Spoelstra, both won. Both. Urban Meyer did something elsewhere, but that was kind of his coming out party.
He started there. He got one there, right.
He got two.
Right.
Tebow and Chris Leak.
Right.
So I mean, I think Florida, they still have they have a way of doing things. Hey, you got to turn this ship around at least after a year.
Right.
We give you the first year.
Right. You got to win. Right. There's no honeymoon. Right. Well, no honeymoon. But he's got to. But I think he's going to LSU though. I really think he's going to LSU.
That's another one. It's
right. That's even bigger than Florida.
That's the Lakers. It's like
we
ain't trying to hear we made it to Atlanta. Damn
Atlanta. No.
Where's the national championship game? Not the SEC.
No.
We don't care about none of that.
Now, real quick, wouldn't it be something? Let's remember, I mentioned Kalen DeBoer. They were talking about him at Penn State. Wouldn't it be something if all of a sudden the Bama job came open? That would supersede LSU and Florida.
But do you think he would take it?
I think he would take Bama over LSU. Yes.
That would be like New England.
I think he would take Bama over LSU if all three are stacked. Because again, if you're leaving the place you built, you gotta go. You want to go somewhere where it's all the amenities. Like you leave a nice apartment, you go into a bigger house, a deluxe apartment in the sky like George and Wheezy.
Would you really want to go do that though?
If I had to pick between Bama, Florida, and LSU, Bama is my one.
I'm saying him because now it's like, bro, ain't we just lost. To hell with all that.
Yeah, well, he's been there. He knows how they get down over there. I mean, that
was from an OC perspective. Now you the captain of this ship. You ain't just one of the shipmen.
Right, that's true.
So it's like, hey,
but LSU's gonna be like that too.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, LSU, Bama 1-2 neck and neck.
That's true.
The only reason why Nick Saban left LSU is for the NFL. He didn't leave it for another college job.
Yeah. But then he came back
because he couldn't cut the NFL.
Went to your arch rival. Well, no, that would probably be Auburn, but he went to your other op.
Mm-hmm. Close enough.
He went to the other op, So it'll be interesting, man. I'm excited to see these next 2 weeks. What's your take on James Franklin, man? Can he recruit some of them kids out of Pennsylvania up to Virginia?
I think the James Franklin hire might be the best of this coaching cycle. The reason why is Franklin was an OC at Maryland and knows that area well. Then obviously we know what he did at Vandy and Penn State. I think he's the perfect fit. Not to mention the ACC is not the Big Ten. It's a lot of talent in that DMV, Hampton Roads area. A lot of good talent. You ain't got to go too far to get great talent. And I think he can get those kids. You've seen all the kids that decommitted from Penn State over the last couple of days. So,
but you knew that was coming, though.
True. But again, that coach that recruited them or they committed to originally has landed somewhere else. Tech, I don't think James Franklin takes a job unless the school is committed to funding the football program. So I expect Tech to get an influx of money. And I think he can turn that thing around pretty quickly with the transfer portal. So yeah, I think I'm a James Franklin fan. I know he didn't win the big game at Penn State, but the troubles Penn State's having hiring a new head coach just tells me you can't close it's like quitting your job and not having a new job to go to. You could say, yeah, I'm leading by faith because I hate this place, and I've done that in my past too. But you need to have a new road to go to. So Penn State took the leap, say, hey, we don't want this guy here, but now you're having a hard time finding a replacement.
It's true. Very true.
What's going to go? Brian Dable? That's the answer, really? So that could have been the main answer why you fired James Franklin. So I think they thought they can get Matt Rule or Stignetti, and what those schools do, they re-up those contracts.
Yep. I mean, hey man, like I say, the next 3 weeks gonna be very telling. Teams that won't make the playoffs or coaches that'll be like, look, I'm getting up out of here. I'm gonna go elsewhere.
Right.
It's gonna get very interesting. I'm excited.
I think you're going to start seeing coaches start to find homes where they like, you know what? I'm not chasing that waterfall. See, some of these schools, like firing coaches 2-3 years.
Yeah. Like
people say, fire Dion. Fire Dion for what? Ain't nobody going to Colorado. So, you better keep Dion.
Unless, like you say, they go to Eric Bieniemy route. But who's to say he even want to go to the NFL?
Right, and that's not going to solve nothing either. It's funny. I thought if Dion was to leave Colorado, some people still think he's resigning, but I don't see it happening. But let's say Dion was leaving, I would go after Pat Fitzgerald, a name from your neck of the woods, former Northwestern coach. He just got exonerated. So
a lot of people are saying he may be linked to Penn State.
I don't think people have said that, but I don't think he goes to Penn State for one reason. It's not his fault, but Penn State has been so mired over the last decade with their own Sandusky and all that. I just don't think the administration wants to have another head coach even though he's been exonerated, that has any type of off the field matter. It's not his fault, but it's just but would you date somebody that she was found not guilty of murder, but you're like, no, but I don't know if I want to mess with her. I don't know if I want to mess with her. You know what I mean? So I think again he needs to go somewhere that it's off the grid a little bit, Maybe even UCLA would be a good fit for Pat Fitzgerald. But we'll
Might be
see.
on something with that one.
Yeah, they're moving to SoCal. They're moving, more into LA. So we'll see how it plays out. But I think again, in the next few weeks off the field will be interesting. And we done killed the whole hour talking about college football when we told ourselves we weren't going to do that.
It's beautiful. Because you gotta think the NFL is only like week 12.
Yeah, we still got time to wrap up.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like, they'll be all right.
Yeah.
They'll have their day in the sun.
I'm thinking about buying the NFL ticket again just to watch Shador play.
How does that work? You only can do like
they got a promotion they got a promotion with YouTube for like, I think it's only like $48 for the rest of the season. So I'm like, maybe I don't, with me being a fan of my loyal Jets, I can care less about the NFL. But I do want to watch that game. I don't want to just watch red zone clips. I do want to watch that game. So I might have to bow down and do it.
Who do y'all have today anyway?
Oh, we're in Baltimore.
Okay.
We're playing the Fighting Myths. Yeah, we're playing Baltimore, and we're already punting the ball, so it is what it is. Good. But yeah. But like I said, I'm waiting for the draft.
So what you think, man? What's your perspective on this week? What's your game of the week?
Nothing really jumps out at me this week. Just the Shador game because of the spectacle, but obviously, can Baltimore should handle business against us to keep themselves going. They got to keep winning. Can Pittsburgh keep, stay ahead of the curve? All the drama happened in Philly. What's going on there? But there's no games that jump out. And really the great story this year is your team. The way they played, and I think the emergence of Caleb Williams really has come out, and the Bears have really surprised me, man. I'm enjoying watching them play. There's a certain type of passion they're playing with, a love of football that you don't always get from teams in the NFL, and they seem to have it now. I don't know, coaching staff, players seeing a different perspective, but they got it now.
Yeah, they give me a heart attack every Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
I'll be like, bruh. But it's like you say, it's like one of them toxic soap operas. You can't turn away because you don't know what's gonna happen.
Well,
can't turn away now. So
but again, that exuberance is because they're never out of a game, even when they shouldn't even win the game. Like they should have beat the Giants.
That's how I be watching. Like,
right?
What the hell?
Yeah, and I always look for your video. If I don't know the score, if I see your video up, I know they won. So.
You and everybody else. Rodeo commented on it. I think like last week. He's like, "This just your repeat or something." I was like, "Yeah."
Yeah, you see the video. They at least won by a point.
Right. Hey, what you say? You just gotta win.
And no style points. This is the NFL.
And to your point, they just got an interception. So, look, man.
Gotta love it, man. I'm a Bear fan.
Love it, but it's like this cannot be sustainable.
Hey, listen, enjoy the ride. I wish I can go on. I wish I could have palpitations watching the Jets. Can't do it. I'm like a neutered dog. I'm like, all I can do is just watch everybody else chase. I can't do that. I'm a neutered puppy.
Hey, man. Hey, like I say, even like last week, I was like, all right, you're down 50 seconds left. How do you, let's see how you do this one. And then you didn't have to do much, because special teams got it to about the 40. I'm like, oh, well.
Mm-hmm.
He gave it, hand off a couple times and, we won another one. So,
but I'm happy for Caleb, though. I think he's taken a lot of bows and arrows over the last couple of years, and I'm happy that he's showing again. I think he took a lot of cheap shots at it. With the guys off the field lifestyle. That's none of his. But between the white lines, the boy's a baller, and I'm glad he's showing that. I really am.
But you know what? It wasn't even his off the field lifestyle. It's just now I will say it's the nail polish. But live your life, dog. Hey, you wanna, I'm sure people wouldn't give a damn. You win a Super Bowl with pink nails. He's a pink nail wearing Super Bowl winner.
Nobody knocked another Chicago legend, Dennis Rodman, so because he won.
Yeah.
So,
and you know what's funny? That's the first thing I thought about. I was like, well, maybe Chicago just does that to people.
Dennis Rodman was wearing halter tops. He's wearing halter tops.
He was wearing wedding dresses. So I was like, this is very interesting. But just what Al Davis just win, dog.
Just win. But Squabble, I gotta run. This has been fun.
Good people. 9:50.
I appreciate you, bro. I'll see you soon.
We'll see y'all next week after we indulge.
Oh yeah, by the way, everybody have a great Thanksgiving.
Yes.
And tell somebody you love them, man. And if you can help somebody in need, help them. It's the time of giving. It's the best of times and it's the worst of times for some. So go out and support somebody that you love or you don't even know. It'll make you feel better.
100%. I agree.
No doubt. Yep.
With that, ditto. We'll see y'all next week. Peace.
Later.